So it really, I'm so impressed with how people feel about salmon and how people work for salmon. You know, every community has people who are just, you know, really busting themselves, cleaning up streams, counting these fish, protecting them. The First Nations up at Sulaco, you know, the people with the late Stewarts, they're at the end of the line. They're just looking at these things. They don't know what to do. They're protecting the grounds. The spawning grounds look beautiful. They've got the counting fences. They don't even, you know, they make kids man them all night because they don't want to hold those fish back. I just want to harness this all together. And so, as I fight this, you know, I've talked to every level of government. I've talked to the NDP. I've talked to the Liberals. I've talked to the Conservatives. Nobody has the guts to do anything about this. And I really can't figure it out. When you've got an animal that comes back like this, these fish that are in our rivers right now, they swam through Vancouver twice. And Vancouver is not like super clean. It's just that these fish can live with us. And there's something very, very wrong. And unless everybody bands together and just says, look, enough. So in the spring, the three of us, Anissa and Don and I, got together, and over enough beers, we came up with the idea of walking down the island. And so we started to do that, and it was an amazing experience. We walked through these towns, and people were holding me, sobbing. And I'm walking down this road. It's deep. Along the side of the highway up to Port McNeill, it's deep with elk tracks. And then you go over these beautiful little rivers, and there's these little fry in the rivers, and then you go into the towns. Everybody's garden is bursting with life, and then the people are sad, and they're saying, we can't get a job, we can't afford our house, our schools are, you know, shutting down. And they've given up a way of life. And so they looked at us, and they're really just saying, like, rescue us, fix this. But, of course, we can't. So I had an idea. I'm done studying sea lice. I'm not going to do that anymore. We are doing this huge event on the 25th, 20th to the 25th of October. We're even actually going to, like, go through Hell's Gate on a raft. Because people really, they like to see that. They like to see you kind of suffer a little bit. They like to see a stunt. But in the end, it's just everybody's got to band together. So basically, we're just trying to get everybody's attention. And I've got a new website, and it's called wildsalmonpeople.ca. We need to become a voting bloc. And so what I'm saying to people is, whatever you are, Liberal, NDP, you know, provincially, federally, whatever you are, fine. Just keep that, because it would be best if we had a mixed government, you know, of all the parties. But what I'm going to do when I'm done, if I make it down the river and all, is I'm going to interview all the politicians, both federally, provincially, and perhaps even eventually municipally, and say, what's your plan here? Because if all of our actions in life were based around, I wonder how that's going to affect the wild salmon. Instantly, you'd have to think upstream, downstream. You'd have to think of your neighbors, and you'd have to bring things into compliance. Now, I'm not saying let's go backwards. I'm saying let's just use what we really know about these fish, because we know a hell of a lot. Let's use the engineers that exist among us and get some, you know, good designs to our towns and our roads and everything, so we don't destroy these fish. And let's just make our towns content with what they've got. You can't grow relentlessly. There just isn't enough area. So I kind of feel like it's time to address this head on. And the only way to do that is political. So I'm not going to run for a political office, because that is my limit. But this is up to the politicians at this point. You know, so I started with them, and now I'm all the way back to them. And if any of you guys have any other ideas, or even thoughts on why we have been losing the Fraser sockeye that I haven't thought of, and why they came back this year, or what you've seen, I'd really love to hear from you, because back when I was studying killer whales, that was really fun, but I always ended up having to talk to the fishermen, because they were salmon predators that could actually talk to me. And so I actually deckhanded for years on a fish boat, and I love sport fishing, and I just know that you guys probably are a wealth of knowledge. And so if you have any questions, or you want to tell me anything, that would be great.
From the international, like the show Nature, or the David Suzuki show,
The David Suzuki Foundation's been involved in this issue for the last probably at least 10 years, but they're one of the ones that are negotiating with fish farmers, and they're hoping to move them into closed containment, but the fish farmers are just stalling, and they just keep getting bigger. Yes.
What is the actual market? Where is the market for these fish farms? Is it locally, or is it, where are the product going? Because, you know, it's all going to be economic based and political based, but where, you know, you hear Save on Foods is not going to be carrying the fish, Safeway, all these companies seem to be coming on board, but they're still producing mass quantities. Where are these fish going?
They're going to California and Japan.
And the Americans will allow these diseased fish to be exported into their...
There's huge loopholes. Like, the United States actually on the books are supposed to accept a product that's been treated with this emamectin benzoate, which they're treating all their fish for lice, and yet they're going over the border.
Again, where do these Norwegian fish farmers get this political clout that allows them to dictate to our government and dictate to the states, by the sound of it now? What's their power base? How can they get away with this stuff?
It's got to be. I kind of think where this is GUSINESS. It's just business. Yeah. And it's. I think when on one of your blogs, when you went over to Norway and the fisheries minister was going over and she was saying they wanted more fish farms. You know, we'd like you to come here. Well, that's money. That's business. And they always give you the twist that, well, it's going to help our economy. Well, so they might employ, you know, 1,500 people, but they're affecting 20 million people. With their decision.
Somewhere that they're doing.
Yeah, it's a business thing.
It's a business deal over the top of our heads, because there's actually, according to the Wilderness Tourism Association, there's 50,000 full-time equivalent jobs in the wilderness tourism industry. So that's bear watching, whale watching, sport fishing. And like I said, this run that came out of nowhere, because CFO did not know this was coming, neither did the Pacific Salmon Commission.
Colin May says they were just hiding. They were always there, but they were just hiding. I sent you that letter that I sent to them. They don't play peekaboo or hide and seek, and they haven't been hiding for 99 years. You know, how can you come up with a stupid statement like that?
I know. I forgot what my point was.
How about hitting the fish farms where they hurt, you know, like inform the consumers down in California and in Japan and tell them just what are you eating? You know, hit them in the pocketbook instead of going to the government route.
It does need to be done. It's a very tough thing, and nobody's taken that one on. I'm still hoping we can. I think that if we force Justice Cohen to get all the data on the disease, I think they're going to get up and leave.
Can Justice Cohen subpoena that information?
He can.
And suggest maybe that's one way that we have to pressure, or somebody has to pressure him to say,
I'm pressuring him.
You can't get the
Now British Columbia has to pressure